Well, over 100 days that have passed since the United States and Israel launched strikes on Iran jointly. And the U.S. President Donald Trump once again is claiming that a breakthrough between the U.S. and Iran is round the corner. This has happened before, where President Trump has declared a peace deal with Iran is imminent, with oil prices have been falling, markets that have been cheering in the world that has been taking a sigh of relief. And then Iran says, not yet. Now, in a breaking update, what we are learning as the role that has been played by Pakistan is that of a messenger. And this is a big claim coming in from the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on the United States-Iran deal. Now, Shehbaz Sharif claims, and I quote, that a final agreed-upon text on the peace deal has been reached, and Pakistan is now working closely with both sides to finalize the next steps, and peace has never been this close as it is now. Now, remember, Pakistan is the so-called mediator as far as in the US-Iran deal is concerned, passing on the messages that has been coming in from both sides. So remains to be seen if the final draft seems to be ready as far as this agreement is concerned. President Trump, however, has been coming out to say that if there is no possibility of leaks until the time he doesn't make a final announcement on when and where this deal is going to be signed, then not to believe on any rumors or any speculations. Well, that has been called out by many leaders within his administration, but on part of the Iranian side, all of these statements and claims that are being made by President Trump are baseless, saying that as far as the deal is now concerned, we are not agreeing to the set terms and conditions that United States seems to be laying forward. Mr. KB Fabian is also connected with us. Sir, good morning. Lot of back and forth, lot of contradictions. Again, there seems to be another hint or indication that a peace deal may be signed after all.
Indications and counter indications. And it is not for the first time that President Trump has said that a deal was about to be signed. But I take it that this time it is probably different. And as I said yesterday, I look at it with hope and caution. Now, what seems to be happening is that President Trump wants to project to the American public that it was the might of the American military which made Iran agree to the conditions, and therefore it has been a victory. But in point of fact, Iran has not budged much. It has stuck to a certain format, and it is Trump who had to adjust. But, let us not worry about the optics. What is important is that there is a settlement, and this dance of death should stop. But there is an elephant in the room. The name is Netanyahu. He still might try and certainly might succeed in spoiling the whole thing by continuing his attack on Lebanon. And it may be that Trump is unable or unwilling to make Netanyahu, comply. So there are lots of uncertainties.
Yes, sir, because that still remains, and the pressure that means is also building on President Trump. In fact, when it comes to finalizing a deal, remains to be seen how soon that actually happens. Thank you very much, Fabian, sir, for your point of view. Well, this is now coming into light where indications are there. President Trump once again hinting that a peace deal will be signed very soon. But as far as on Iran, President Trump has now launched a blistering attack, accusing Tehran of spreading misinformation about the proposed peace agreement and acting in bad faith. Now, President Trump has rejected reports carried out by the Iranian media saying that the leaked terms bear no resemblance to what has been actually agreed upon in writing. Now, he's gone on to describe the Iranian negotiations as dishonorable and has claimed that there was no such thing as dealing in good faith with them. Now, this seems to be the accusation that has now come in from President Trump, where he is now accusing Iran of lying, saying that terms that Iran leaked is fake news and they have nothing to do with the terms that have now been agreed upon. But on the Iranian side, let's get you their point of view as well, because now what we are learning that Iran and the United States have reported to have agreed to the wording of an initial agreement that seems to end, the Middle Eastern war, with mediators working with both sides to finalize the deal. And the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says that as part of the agreement, the two sides would respect each other's sovereignty, calling it one of the most important provisions in this agreement. However, this emerging deal is also reportedly expected to pave way for the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, the phased lifting of the sanctions on Iran, and the release of the frozen Iranian assets. Now, Araghchi also saying that Israel was not part of the negotiations, saying that this agreement has enemies and at the forefront of them is the Zionist regime, according to Araghchi. The minister has also indicated that the memorandum of understanding would be followed by talks on terms dealing with Iran's nuclear program. That would be finalized in 60 days after the initial agreement was reached. So, however, this seems to be on the line where Iran is of the opinion that, of course, they would never want Israel to be a part of the peace deal with the United States, and strictly when it comes to the initial agreement that has now aimed at ending the conflict first in Middle East, and that is when two sides have agreed to come to the table to talk for negotiations. In the meantime, respecting each other's sovereignty seems to be one of the major highlights and one of the major and important provisions of this agreement, according to Araghchi. And this emerging deal is also reportedly expected to pave way for the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. That means that the U.S. naval blockade in the coming days is also likely to be lifted. And also the phased lifting of the sanctions on Iran, which Iran has been seeking from the United States as far as the frozen assets that has been over the last few decades. Iran wants them to be lifted. In the meantime, more developments that are now coming across, because if this is a turning point that we are looking at the conflict and the, when it comes to the hostilities in West Asia, because it is now sources has been indicating that both Washington and Tehran are moving closer to a possible agreement, with Geneva now seems to be emerging as a likely stage for a potentially historic diplomatic breakthrough. Now, sources further suggest that the proposed framework accommodates several key Iranian demands, even as negotiators are working to bridge the remaining gaps. So, however, when it comes to don't know exactly what are the demands that has been kept forth on part of the Iranian side and if they have been agreed on by the United States.